I feel that the one great thing about AI that humans really, really can't do, especially when companies scale, is have an understanding of every part of the business at real time and be able to get all that information and have that in this centralized area. So then the human then can make really, really informed decisions. No, I completely agree. Like for me, the way I looked at this is like the major leagues in something I'm so passionate about. And so I definitely had to get to the US to build or buy my next company, and I chose to buy. So, but on the flip side too, I think the one concerning thing or the one thing on top of my mind is like compute power. If we are going to be uh, building like a lot of AI, when the compute power or the compute cost that we have right now per execution, it is starting to get costly for the companies.
Hello, and welcome to the How to Exit podcast, where we introduce you to a world of small to medium business acquisitions and mergers. We interview business owners, industry leaders, authors, mentors, and other influencers with the sole intent to share with you what it looks like to buy or sell a business. Let's get rolling. And now a moment for our sponsors. Sponsored by DuDilio. Looking to buy or sell a business? Assembling the right team is essential for success, and that's where DuDilio comes in. DuDilio is the go-to platform for hiring top M&A service providers, including attorneys, deal advisors, and due diligence experts. With a network of over 250 highly vetted professionals and boutique firms, they connect you with the expert you need for a seamless M&A journey. Whether you're acquiring your first business, growing your portfolio, or preparing for a sale, DuDilio makes building your deal team easy and efficient. And best of all, their matching service is completely free. Visit dudilio.com and assemble your winning team today. I want to highly recommend you get Acquisition Aficionado magazine. Every month, Acquisition Aficionado magazine brings you tactics for business buying and selling you won't find anywhere else. Learn firsthand from industry leaders who share their success stories, featuring in-depth interviews and stories from leading figures in the business acquisition industry. This multi-platform mobile magazine speaks to acquisition entrepreneurs wherever they are in the journey. And I want you to visit acquisitionaficionado.com today. Hello and welcome to the How to Exit podcast. Today I'm here with Sanket Bhasin. He is the founder and partner, managing partner at Spring Street Capital, a software-focused search fund in New York. Looking forward to chatting with you today, man. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me on the show. Huge fan, so it's a privilege to be on the show.
Awesome. So we always start with the origin story, man. We always start with kind of where you're from. How did you get into this space? What have you done before you got into mergers and acquisition, that type of stuff. So bless us with your origin story. Kind of give us a lay of who you are and how you got here.
Yeah, sure. Do you want the short version or the long version?
Give us the detailed enough version. I don't need to know like, hey, I was born on Elm Street, but just kind of give us enough information and kind of know who you are and what brought you to this spot.
Yeah, sure. Grew up in Australia, exposed to entrepreneurship, I feel, extremely young age. Dad's dream was to always to buy business. So I was lucky enough to spend every Sunday cruising around Melbourne looking for a business to buy with my dad. And then when he actually brought the business, I actually got to help him run the business, which is really cool. But I feel that experience just really gave me these two things. One is a deep respect for entrepreneurs. I feel that, to this day, some of the smartest people that I ever met, and also the most interesting, were entrepreneurs. And I just got to meet a lot of them at an extremely young age, when kids were deciding who their superheroes were. So for me, an entrepreneur was definitely up there as a superhero. And the second thing, I was pretty lucky to know that, I always wanted to be one of these really smart, interesting people. So I feel the last 18 years I've just done that, just tried to be a smart, interesting entrepreneur myself. So I founded two software companies pretty early on. I'd say one was called Smart Therapist. Essentially, that was a health tech SaaS platform. It was bridging the gap between a physical therapist and their patients. The problem that we were solving at that point was, the physical therapist would outline this great strategy for their patients to get better, and they would write on this like piece of paper. This was back in 2008, 2009 time, and the patient would run off with the exercise they had to do. Half the time they lost those exercises, but B, they forgot how to do those exercises. And so when they were going back to see the physical therapist, they wouldn't know if, is there strategy flaw, or is this person just not doing the exercises? So primarily it was a very straightforward platform, really. We were just trying to solve that problem. And then it turned into this beast of an analytics platform. We had exercises within the platform, and it started to turn into this patient management sort of platform, which is great. We had users in scaled that to 52 different countries. We had a white label with the Australian Olympic team, Chinese Olympic team were using a white label too, which was great. And so ended up selling that one, or selling out my stake there, and then started another business, which was Communicate This. And that was basically a business process outsourcing firm called specifically for software engineering. So when I was building Smart Therapist, a lot of my friends were also founders. They had this problem of, hey, we're just trying to upscale our teams here, and specifically the engineering teams. You built the systems and processes to do it. Can you teach us how to do it, or can you do it for us? So I just said, well, I'm doing nothing right now. Let me just build out a firm, and we can sort of help you guys out at scale. So we set out to do that pretty early on. And then we started building websites. Then we went into digital marketing as well, and ended up building venture builds for big companies too by the end of it, which was great. Sold that business too, which was awesome. And then went to business school. I always wanted to learn how to better scale my businesses versus building them from scratch. I always thought that, I kind of look at businesses, if you sort of come up with the idea, build these MVPs and get traction is like this one stage. And second stage is scaling, diversifying, and growing or exiting there. I never just had too much of that experience, and I just wanted to learn more how to better do that. So went to business school, which was a incredible experience. I really enjoyed it. I learned a ton, which was awesome. And then after that, I joined BCG Digital Ventures to specifically helping out on one project. And then after that, I joined the venture building team at Shell Oil Company. Yeah, we're building and investing in technology specifically to optimize the upstream part of the business. So essentially, how to find oil and extract it faster and smarter than they've never done it before, which was awesome. Absolutely loved it. Did that, had a small stint of consulting after that, and then started Spring Street Capital.
So the model you chose on Spring Street Capital is the search fund model. Why that model as opposed to just doing an SBA loan and buying a small company, or what made you choose the search fund?
Yeah, in terms of the search fund, I think the really practical response to that is like the market opportunity is what drew me in. Realizing I've got the perfect skills and experiences is really what sparked my interest. And I feel like the amount of control, ownership, and mentoring that came with a traditional search fund is what got me absolutely hooked. I feel that people think that you just become like an employee of investors at some point. And, I spoke to a lot of searchers before I got into this space. I spoke to a lot of investors as well into, what they expect from the searchers that they back to. And, like you really do get a lot of autonomy to be creative and to run the firm as you want to run it. It is very much so a spot as a CEO and entrepreneur sort of leading the firm. So that got me really excited. And then just on like a personal note, I feel that I've worked for some of the best companies in the world, especially since arriving to the US. But I still never found that level of fulfillment, that I had when I was owning my own businesses. to some degree, like you do lose a ton of ownership in your work. You lose a bit of control in your life trajectory as well. And you kind of lose that financial upside that comes with entrepreneurship too, which, these are the things that really gave me fulfillment. And so the search fund model, I feel it just gives me the opportunity to work on the things I enjoy the most and get back to control and the ownership I always wanted. And also the main point to be an entrepreneur again.
Yeah, a lot of people don't understand that. A lot of our listeners don't understand the difference between the search fund model and a standard model. And what they don't get is and I've interviewed quite a few of the guys who fund the search funds and who invest in searchers. And there's a model to it. They don't typically plan on or even want the searcher to find the business in the first 6 to 12 months because there's a mentoring that needs to happen. They're usually
Mm,
taking these guys like adult children. That's what I call them. 20 somethings right out of an MBA program, never been an operator, and unlike you, where you've operated and sold companies before. But most of their searchers are straight out of MBA, and usually, or even more often than they like to admit, are straight from undergrad to MBA, never had a real job type of guys, and now they want to own a company.
mm,
So they use that time. They use that 12, 18, 24, 36 months to mentor them, to toughen them up a little bit, to show them through the evaluation process and through the due diligence process of all these companies what went right, what went wrong,
yeah,
and it's a multi-year mentoring thing to get them ready to be a CEO, right?
yeah,
And it gives the funder, the person putting financial backing to the searcher, the ability to see what you're really made of, right? They get a real good indication of whether or not you're a horse they want to, back in this race. So a lot of people don't get that the search funds are there's two stages, I guess you would call it. There's funding the search, and then there's funding the acquisition. And the funding guy, he gets first right of refusal to help fund the acquisition and to play a role in that company at some level, on the financial level, with you in the future. But to whereas your average Joe out there looking to buy a company through an SBA loan, they're on their own. They got to go build that team. They don't
yeah.
have some, alumni from their college, investing money in them who's done it 2 or 3 times, who, they don't have built-in mentors. And that's one of the things I like about that search fund is it does come up with usually, most of the people who fund you are willing to willing to lend you their ear to you. They got you got their money, now they're willing to give you their advice too, right? When you need it.
Exactly. And I can't be more excited by the guys that have backed me
Mm.
and the firms that have backed me. They've just been an incredible amount of support. Like I was just on the phone to an investor literally yesterday. It was, yeah. And we're just talking about sourcing strategies. Hey, this is what I'm doing. This is what's working. Look, what are you guys seeing within your other portfolio companies and your other searches that you backed? And they've got like this really great view of like, hey, this is what's working right now, and this is what isn't. Potentially try this, and it's never a hey, you should do this. It's consider this approach. At the end of the day, it's up to you, but consider this. And so I think it's a really good thing for the investor too to see how you work, but also too for us to see how the investors work as well. My sort of goal is to absolutely have my investors on my board as well when I acquire, and so to build that relationship now to see how we work well together. Hopefully, we do work well together. But see how we work together now is extremely important for me too, right? Because I'm trying to buy these companies and hold them for a very long time. And so, you are sort of getting married to these investors to some degree. So it's a good little testing ground for me for the next 2 years to test that out.
I've always seen that as the differentiation between having a search fund deal and having, or any deal where you have outside investors, and then using some other financing and buying it yourself. I've always seen, so anytime you take outside investors, there's got to be an exit at some point. That's how they realize their money. That's how they get their money back on their side of the fence to use it for their friends and families, right? That said, what's the horizon on your search fund? Are you looking to acquire a company and hold on to it for 5 or 10 years? I mean, what's the story you tell the investors as to when they're going to get their capital back?
Yeah, Spring Street Capital is definitely like a long-term hold uh, sort of firm. Like we definitely think in decades, and so that's something that's really important to me. Again, I think in terms of the holding period, it's definitely going to come down to the type of company that we acquire, what's sort of like the macro sort of environments in that space, et cetera, et cetera. But you know, the investors are all backed me. We've all got that long term hold vision in the back of our minds, which
And
is great.
there's ways that to force liquidity and give them a way out, right? There's secondaries. There's ways to do this where you can, go public and have a capital event, or you could,
Yeah,
sell their interest on a market as a secondary with a proper firm. There's ways for them to, if they need out one out. I was just curious on what's the story you're selling. So it is a long term holdco.
absolutely. And like again, worst case, if they really do need them, to your point, there's absolutely ways that we can get them that. I've just had one of my investors, which was a searcher too. He sort of just went through like a recapitalization, just brought them all out. So there's definitely multiple ways to achieve that, but I think like as like a foundation, like my mind is definitely long term hold, and the investors that I have backing me too, it is definitely as long as they can hold for it as well.
You've already been successful in a couple startups. Why go down this path as opposed to not starting another one? I mean, I still fight the urge. I mean, to this day, like I actually broke out one of the no code generators that they started writing an app because I thought, hey, here's an app. I have an app idea. Let's just plug this away. And then I realized I don't want to do that. Like product market fit, all the night, all this stuff. Like, will it work or
Yeah,
not?
yeah,
If you're gonna create one, you might as well create 10 because only 1 in 10 succeed.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But
No, no, it's so true. I feel that if you do look at my past as well, like even when I was doing the venture buildings for corporates, it was like this whole early stage, figuring out the idea, putting that MVP out, and getting product market fit to some degree. I feel that search gives me everything I loved about building startups. To be honest, the control, ownership, the freedom to make my decisions, building and leading the team, which is some of I feel the most rewarding parts of my career is actually building and leading my own teams and seeing these guys grow and succeed. But I think that one differentiator is, and I'm kind of reluctant to say this publicly, but the actual work of scaling a company is what truly fascinates me more than actually building from scratch. It's and I kind of got a lot more of that experience within business school, which is great. And then within the corporates, essentially, we were building new ventures as a growth strategy. We're sort of leveraging their big Fortune 500's IP. We're leveraging their existing customers, and we're leveraging essentially all their competitive advantages to build out new ventures within the firms. So, I feel that getting so granular in that and spending the last, I think it was like 6 to 7 years just within that space, I'm still truly, truly fascinated, and I just want to do that now for myself. And to be honest, like pulling these three levers, right? Like we've essentially got like price increases, cost reduction, and the volume increases within sort of each company we can go into to pull. Then we're going to be strengthening that core of the business so it can efficiently scale. These things, to some degree, they're incredibly exciting to me. So I've never been able to do it really fully for myself to this level that I'm about to do it throughout the search fund, because I'm going
mhm.
to be going to a pretty mature business going in to do it. So yeah, I'm very, very bullish and very excited about it.
There's a lot of businesses out there. The reason they're selling is because the owner, the founder, feels that they've taken it as far as they could. Right?
Yeah.
They don't know how to scale either. Right? It's a different, and you see this in the VC world. It's a different individual who can come up with an idea and put it to code and make it, show up in the world than
Oh,
it is a guy who can take that, often, that person has to grow and learn the skills to take out and get in the first customer, right? But then it's a whole different skill set to go from first customer to a million, an entirely different skill set to go from 1 million, revenue to five. And then you start getting into, 10, 15, 20, and you're running a team of over 50 people. That's an entire different
Absolutely.
company and different mindset. And if you notice, you'll see this. Even some of the biggest companies out there, the Oracle CEOs, they stepped down for a while because they knew they weren't the team to take it to the next level. A lot of
Yeah.
times, these guys they step back a little bit. They go out and those two went out. They went out and got mentored or whatever, and came back, and they're running it again. But that said, it's a different skill set. It totally is. So, and the chances you could get to that to utilize and test that skill set for yours from a startup, or less than 1 in 10, because like it's the first they say less than 10% of all companies actually get past $1 million
Yep.
in revenue. So you'd have
Very
to
small
go
number.
out and create 10 startups to see if you can test your scaling skills, right? So
Plus, like, it's just this like extra beauty when it comes to like scaling an existing company that you didn't build either. You sort of go into a company with fresh eyes. It's got a lot of legs, and you can craft these like really interesting strategies where customers start to buy more. New customers are coming in, and from that cash flow, you're able to hire like this incredible talent too to again like supercharge this flywheel that's sort of happening within this firm. I think it's just like a really, really good opportunity that sort of exists. So essentially, why I'm here.
you grew up in Australia. I've always wanted to visit there. I always think, you always think the grass is greener on the other side, right? Uh, I was thinking, why would he come from, I'm thinking Australia, I'm thinking Sydney, I'm thinking the ocean, I'm thinking warm water. Like, why come to the United States and why in the world New York, right? New York is a crowded city. It's cold, it snows, right?
No, I feel that every place has got pros and cons.
Yeah.
To me, like I still love Australia, but America to me is like definitely got the opportunity that I always dreamed of having when I was a kid. I've just been doing so much research into like entrepreneurs, business, and to be honest, I'm absolutely obsessed with business and also being the best business builder I can possibly be, right? And I just sort of, it's pretty like evident to me when I came here business school that, the people that I wanted to learn from were in this country. So I think I had my mindset of, okay, this is definitely where I want to do something in business, something pretty big. And then, a funny story, I found uh, a woman,
I'd say there's always
and
a woman
there's always a woman behind
or
our
a
decisions these
significant other.
days.
There's always love, right?
Yes. And we got married in 2022, and now I'm fully calling the US home. So my wife Ritu, she's a US citizen. She grew up in New York, and
See,
so
that's why New York, right? The same reason I'm in California. I had no intentions on ever coming back into this godforsaken place, right? But my wife is from here. Her family's from here. It's beautiful here. It's just the politics and the economics of being here is just doesn't make sense. Highest taxed area in the world, probably, in the United States anyway,
it's very
and
costly.
yeah,
Yeah.
very costly in the gas, very costly in everything we do. A loaf of bread's $5 and something here, right? The only place I've ever been
That-
that's more expensive is when I lived in Hawaii, right?
yeah.
And they had to bring everything over there on a boat, you know. And there's something to be said, like there's something to be said about moving to a location. You were talking about locations and stuff, putting yourself in a location to where you're not distracted, right? Let's take a raised condition, a really strange raised condition. One of the main reasons I think that our United States prison system fails is because when people come out on parole, they stick
Yeah.
them back in the same city in the same environment they came from. I think honestly, if you took somebody and put them in a foreign environment totally where they didn't know anybody, they couldn't go back to their own trends, they couldn't go back to their old neighborhoods, their old ways, and you gave him a job. Somebody in Tulsa ends up spending 5 years in prison. He goes to Dallas when he gets out, and he has to spend 3 years there. He's got a parolee, he's got a job, he's something like that, and he doesn't have any connections that he's had before. The return would be so much less. I think the same thing's in startup. I think if you really want to be an entrepreneur, you got to look and take yourself out of your comfort zone, go somewhere that's a common thing that happens, right? If somebody wanted to create something in the vacation destination or vineyards area, or in the wine industry, they should come where I'm at, right? This is all vacation, vineyard, spas, everything that's hotels, bed and breakfast, zip lines from the redwood trees. I mean, that's the businesses that are around here. But if
Yeah,
you wanted to be in tech startup, you wouldn't come up here because you're not going to be able to find employees, like unless they
yeah.
all remotely work.
To be completely honest with you, if I was starting a winery, I'd definitely stick to the Yarra Valley in Australia. A beautiful place for a
Yeah,
winery.
right. So,
But no, no, I completely agree. Like for me, the way I looked at this is like the major leagues in something I'm so passionate about. And so I definitely had to get to the US to build or buy my next company, and I chose to buy. So here I am.
there we go. So, what are you looking for? What is the buy box, is what we like to call it. Like, what is your buying criteria for a company?
Yeah, looking for vertical software company, specifically serving energy or healthcare sectors. So it's like hyper niche, sort of like mission critical software, 1 to 20 million ARR, 10 to 40% profit margins. Just really good customer relationships and like an engaged, committed team with it.
Did I miss the part where you said like what industry? Is it medical? I mean, is there any particular? I think like totally missed that.
Yeah, vertical software serving energy or healthcare sectors.
Okay, energy or healthcare.
Yeah,
So it's interesting. I know of an energy company related software company that tried to sell a while ago, and I don't know where their status is right now. I told somebody else earlier week I need to check in on it. But
yeah,
they do. They're kind of a SaaS software company, but they do the hardware too. They install the remote metered meters,
yeah.
and one of my old military buddies worked there. I knew they were for sale for a little while, and then the deal fell through, and then I don't know where they're at right now. But
Well,
they have a
if it,
software component side of it. So they install the meters, but the biggest way they make their recurring revenue is they help monitor small municipalities and even military bases and stuff like that. They
yeah,
give them software to monitor usage and detect certain things and look for anomalies and stuff.
yeah, no, it's maybe if it's still in the market, I'd love to speak to the owner. So
Yeah. Well,
we're giving some really good referral fees too, Ronnie. So
this was a $25 million type of deal when the first time it went through, I think. So
okay.
it failed. But anyway, I don't know where that status. I haven't checked on the status of that in a while. But that would be kind of in that space. You're talking about when you say energy, you're looking at any type of energy type of projects, renewable energy. Is there anything that really catches your interest?
Yeah, it's sort of just exploring right now.
Mm.
So again, like I'm just sort of really looking at the sort of metrics of the business, customers as well, and see if we can deliver some value there, right, from our expertise. Myself and the investor group, we do have specific expertise within both of those areas. So, if we can go in and definitely add some value there, absolutely happy to take a look.
I was just reading an article this morning on the future of on the healthcare industry. It was a brief
Yeah,
article, but it was talking about um, medical documents and medical records are something like a $350 billion problem. That's what it costs these medical industries to do it, and there's some companies out there trying to tackle that problem with AI. What do you see as the future of like kind of software and where it's going? And let's just start with that. Where do you see? I have a little bit. What do you call it? I want to say I hate the word negative, but I have a negative view. I have a negative view
skepticism.
of what the future of a programmer looks like. I honestly think there's gonna even I think Facebook dude. I just totally draw a blank here. Mark Zuckerberg. Even he said earlier in the week that by the end of next year, the following year, like most of his programmers will have to be above the mid level because AI is replacing all the lower to mid level programmers.
Yeah, yeah, and I'll definitely agree with that sentiment too, right? And so I think like it's, and I'll be completely honest with you. Like, I think it's the most exciting, incredible time for a person like me, with a person with my expertise, to be in this space.
Mm-hmm.
I think like AI is really increasing the productivity of these engineers, which is awesome. And if you look at like what an engineer does, I feel that it's like four specific things. They design software, they code, they test and debug, and then they maintain the software. Is like they're four core things that a software engineer would do. And I would say that, the coding, the testing and debugging, and the maintaining it, we're probably, my view is like we're probably going to see a lot of AI helping to do that. I don't know if it's going to be 100%, but there is going to be like a, a huge lift from the AI to help the engineers do that, which is great. And that just puts focus on more on the designing software, right? The brains and like what actually needs to be built and how it plays within code bases and how it plays within other parts of the business and connecting everything together to create like a more efficient system internally and also deliver better value for the customer, which is awesome. I just feel that the software company is going to be getting built. I think the gross margins are going to start to hopefully increase at that, because there'll be less people required to have the same amount of output as today, which is great. But on the flip side too, I think the one concerning thing, or the one thing on top of my mind, is like compute power. If we are going to be building like a lot of AI, when the compute power or the compute cost that we have right now per execution, it is starting to get costly for the companies. And from what I'm seeing, the customer just they there's like an expectation of the software firm to eat up that cost, and for the customer to have just like this fixed fee on their software like they did with SaaS. And so that's going to be interesting. I'm like really interested to see how that plays out. I feel the one thing is just the cost of energy has to decrease for something like that, for that specific cost to decrease. Getting better technology coming through, so quantum, pumping at execution cycles faster, smarter as well. That might have a huge impact. But I think that's where my research is right now. In sort of how to keep that AI cost down.
Is the AI cost around the learning mechanism, or is it around the actually execute? So meaning that if I tell AI right now, here's here's all my financial data for the last 3 years, pull out leading indicators, pull out, give me analysis, and it has to go through all those numbers. Is it a crunching of those numbers that uses that compute, or is it like all the learning it took to get up to that point to be able to do it?
Yeah, we a bit of both.
Oh, is it? Because I know they're building out these incredible data centers easily. Elon Musk just built out something that's like way more powerful than anything we've ever seen. It's got the most powerful computer known on the planet. I'm sure probably three-lettered agencies have something to beat him. That said, he's putting a lot of money and energy into this, and then you got places like NVIDIA building, computers. They just sent out a $3,000 home computer that's not much bigger than the Mac Mini I'm running on here now, that does some incredible number of transactions per second, like billions if not trillions. It's insane, right?
Yeah,
The capabilities of for $3,000, and you can chain them together, so you can build. It's enough to run a small, intelligence model from your desktop. So
yeah.
that said, I'm just curious as to what can't not be done by the AI in the near term. I honestly think it's the design, the fleshing requirements from human beings, getting them identified, and then prompting and telling the AI what's needed and how to do that is the critical part that I think it'd be hardest for them to solve. Mainly, I worked in that space back when, I'm going to date myself, back in 97, 98, 99, when I worked for Lockheed. We did systems designs for three-lettered agencies, and the requirements phase was so long because you're going back and forth and going, is this what you want? And you got this
Yeah.
engineering document that has requirement statements in there, and like, well, no, and you had to go back and forth and back and forth before you even let the software programmers look at it, right? You end up with
Yeah.
these multi-page requirement documents, and then you hand it over to the engineers, and you know you give them this requirement, and they do, you show them you wanted an apple, and they give you an orange, and you have to go back and forth with that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think AI will be better at, once you hand it the requirements, being able to get it right the first time. But
Yeah.
I don't know. Humans are so indecisive, and we don't really know what we want half the time.
Mm.
Extracting that from there, I think, still going to require some level of high level engineer. So
And like to your point too, I think that there's I don't think there's anything that would beat human thinking and human ingenuity. I feel that that is going to be extremely hard to get replicated by an AI. I feel that the one great thing about AI that humans really, really can't do, especially when companies scale, is have an understanding of every part of the business at real time and be able to get all that information and have that in this centralized area so then the human then can make really, really informed decisions. I feel that that has been extremely hard for any organization, specifically once you start to scale that out. Is okay. What's the last software company I ran? There was a finance department, operations department, marketing department, legal, SecOps, RevOps. We had engineering, data science, the design department, the UX design, and every one of those teams were dealing in like little silos and doing their own work, right? This is the first time that we can get all these conversations happening in all these areas, have a repository of these conversations, and then as a chief executive come in and really make informed decisions real time to make sure that one, everyone's in line or make decisions or put tasks in place so everyone is aligned, number one. But number two, have a really strong understanding of where the business lies at any given point. And number three is develop strategies that are going to be, I think, stronger than ever. And I think that that's where AI is going to really, really come in and connect everything together. And we're going to be able to act on it. So I think that's what I'm most excited about. I think the Gen AI stuff, I'm very, very skeptical on still. And I know it's going to get better. I know it is getting better. It's come a long way already. But the Gen AI stuff, I'm just not as bullish as like what I thought I
you
would be.
know, I would have said a few weeks ago when I was reading up and watching and what they're doing with the latest version of ChatGPT and stuff, and everybody's claiming that's probably AGI. I don't think it is, in the sense that one of the guys I was watching on a podcast, he said something very clear that made it make sense. He says, "I can teach a 10-year-old how to unload and load a dishwasher in 10 minutes." But if I were to teach an AI tool that, a robotic AI tool that, it would take, a couple $1 million in months until we can get to where you can teach, I can teach a 16-year-old how to drive a car in 3 to 4 hours in an empty parking lot. And then it took, billions of dollars and billions of data points to teach self-driving and, cars to do what they're doing now, and they still don't do as good of a job as a human being. So until you can replicate the human's mind to absorb data and to put it into order and to act upon it, you're not at AGI. And that's something that wasn't from me, that was from him, and I got it then. I was like, okay, yeah, this 3.0 model can do math better than the top 97% of PhDs, but a single mathematical problem costs $13,000 worth of compute cycles to get done, right?
Yeah.
That's just not economical at that point. So
Yeah, yeah, and I just feel that people discount humans. The like the human brain is just it's just like an incredible thing that sometimes gets discounted a lot. So again, I'm really bullish on the human brain, and yeah, and definitely think there's a part where sort of AI is going to come in and make the human brain even better and our thinking better. And I'm sort of hopeful that society as a whole is going to benefit from this transition that's sort of happening.
The counter argument to that though is we're in the AI's way right now. We're limiting AI and not allowing it to do its own thing. So there's been multiple times now where even 2 or 3 years ago, I read an article where Google had this AI and it created its own language between two of its computers and started writing code that the engineers couldn't understand. It was communicating in a language they didn't know what it was, and it was expanding its code base and its knowledge on its own. So they unplugged it, right? They freaked out and unplugged this thing, and I honestly think that the only way that super intelligence is going to happen, what they call artificial super intelligence is going to happen, is if we build a model we trust well enough, we let up the reins and see what it does, and that's a scary thing to do because that's what they call it. That's a pivotal point where it either can go really right and be really beneficial, or it could be really ugly. So
Yeah, yeah. It's we definitely gonna have to build some guardrails if we sort of scale this thing out. But I think the right people being put into place, and to hopefully them guardrails are the right ones. But I agree with you. It can definitely go either way.
well, you have to be bullish on it if you're going to be buying software companies and plan on being a long-term hold, right? You have to be bullish on the fact that no matter what it is, there's still going to be money in it, and there's still going to be a business in it.
That's
Um,
right.
the problem I see right now with these AI models too is the small guys really can't afford to compete with the big guys, right? If if AI goes like some of the other people in the computing space goes like some of the people out there say that AI is going to control it all, then you're talking about maybe less than 10 to 20 companies in the world that have the money to build out these compute infrastructures to even be competing in that, right? Depending on how the economics of that works out, what happens to the other, some odd $100 million businesses that are trying to operate in that space, right?
Yeah, no, and it's a good point. I feel that for the infrastructure layer, it's going to be really really hard to compete with these big guys. They definitely have the money, resources, and also the talent to build that out, right? And I think that to compete it is going to be really really tough. I feel for the application layer though, is to where we sort of lie, right? Is for the companies that I'm looking for, and the application layer absolutely. I just don't think that they're and specifically like in vertical software, I'm staying away from horizontal and going specifically into vertical, just because I just don't think that these companies are going to go into every single sector or industry and build really sector specific models to help a really niche sort of vertical out in being sort of more efficient within their operations and to know their business inside out and just get like the nuance that's needed to build out these models. But the second thing, deliver like exceptional value to the customers too of like the software companies. So
What's the difference
um,
between a vertical integrate or a vertical software company and a horizontal company?
a horizontal serves multiple sectors. So example is the payment accounting software called Zero.
Right.
Huge fan. I think it's an Australian New Zealand company. Big fan of it. But you can essentially be in healthcare, energy, real estate, whatever sector you're in, and you could use that software. It goes across all. It's not really specific. So for example, if you had a financial software specifically for the healthcare sector, that would be itemized depending on potentially what the like say if it's healthcare within physical therapy, they have an itemized code specifically for the what you're giving the patient. And so like it wouldn't be that specialized. You'd have to code that all in and do it yourself. But it does give you that just like that general accounting software. A vertical software is specifically, solving the problem for that specific industry. So I'll give you an idea of a company I was looking at the other day. It was software, specifically vertical software, specifically oil and gas, specifically on an offshore rig of oil and gas. And then it was a data analytics platform that was sending data back to the head office and back from the offshore rig. Now, that data was so specific to oil and gas that a person from like a horizontal layer wouldn't be able to get the nuance of like, okay, what do the features look like? What are the customer problems that this software is solving? And so all our results.
Okay, it's interesting. What do you see as the long term view of this? Where's the most potential in the software industry?
I definitely wish I had a crystal ball here, Ronnie. But you know, from a high level, the Spring Street thesis is the fourth industrial revolution will impact all industries, and we really believe that digital forward businesses are going to outperform their peers, and we can clearly see that playing out right now. I think the those providing those digital solutions, I think, is going to deliver outstanding value to customers, and consequently exceptional financial returns for any investor involved. So I think that we're really, really well positioned within my expertise and my investor group's expertise. I think to really capitalize on this shift that's happening.
Awesome. Well, if somebody wants to work with you, or if they have a company they want you to look at, or one of the guys in the audience stumbled across a company that's not right for them, but they think it's right for you, how do you want them to reach out to you?
Yeah, I think the best one would be LinkedIn. I'm really active on LinkedIn. So please feel free to reach out, send me a DM. Sanket Bhasin, Sanket Bhasin. And yeah, you can also email me, Sanket at springstreetcat.com. Yeah, two good ways.
Oh, cool. And if somebody can only remember two or three things from the show today, what would you want them to walk away with?
I think people should be really excited about this new shift that's coming in. These companies, I feel, are going to be even more efficient than what they are through technology. So get excited for that shift. If you're in the vertical software space and you've got a company within energy or healthcare, I'd love to speak to you. So please reach out. Worst case, if it's not a good fit or it's not the right time in selling your company right now, or not a good fit, we're always here to help out, for you to build your companies. We're a team of heavy software operators that have been building companies in this space for a really long time. So we're doing our best to put out a lot of resources and a lot of white papers for you guys to build these companies more efficient than ever, which is great. And yeah, happy building.
Awesome. Well, I thank you for being here today. Hang out for a few minutes. We'll call that a show.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
This episode of How to Exit is brought to you by Final Ascent, the boutique M&A firm helping lower middle market business owners achieve their ultimate exit. At Final Ascent, they know selling your business is one of the biggest decisions you'll ever make, and they've been in your shoes. Their team isn't just made of advisors. They're experienced business owners who have successfully navigated their own exits. Final Ascent specializes in preparing businesses for sale, building value, and connecting with a national network of qualified buyers who will compete for your business. They don't take on a client unless they're confident they can sell your business at the current market maximum value. Whether you're ready to sell now or planning for the future, they'll craft a roadmap tailored to your unique goals so that you can walk away with maximum value and a peace of mind. Start your journey today at Final Ascent. That's www.finalascent.com, because your next chapter starts with a successful exit.